Unit 2. Counselling in Practice. In this unit you will learn about practical counselling skills and techniques. It will familiarize you with the advisor's role in the counselling process and the client's possible motives and reasons. After acquiring knowledge from this unit, you will be able to apply body language in counselling, apply basic communication and speech in counselling, apply other counselling skills and techniques. Clients seek help from advisors for direct foreign investments for two reasons. Some of them have already made a decision and know exactly what they want but need advice and help to accomplish it. The advisor should approach those clients in a very simple and direct way. It is assumed that those clients will provide the advisor with accurate and precise information and present their needs and wishes. Once the consultant listened to the client and after asking additional questions got all the necessary information, he would be able to provide the client with all the necessary information and offer him solutions. The brief listening session will most likely be followed by constructive conversation. Another category of clients wants something and knows approximately what exactly, but they are not sure until they get all the information. Therefore, they investigate different possibilities, who, how and where. The advisor should apply his best listening and communication techniques on those clients. He should also see into the client's motives in order to be able to help them find ideas and solutions. Several different motives for seeking advice. Some investors are motivated only by the expansion of the market and profits, so they are focused solely on the job. The others want to invest in real estate for personal reasons because of residence, family reunion and pleasant casual or permanent stay. The third types are clients who already reside in the host country and therefore seek ideas and opportunities to invest in some jobs in order to be able to afford a longer stay. It is possible that the advisor would be contacted by the investor's family members for the same reason. Some clients would be happy to do anything because they want to become independent or to be able to stay in the host country. They have some financial resources, but have no business ideas or are not familiar with legal or personal possibilities. Some of them would have unrealistic plans or unachievable objectives that need to be analyzed and adapted. The advisor can help the client by setting up targeted questions. The client should write down questions and answers in order to get an insight into the full picture of his abilities, wishes and needs. That might help in creating business startup ideas. Some question for getting business startup ideas. Knowledge, skills and activities. Knowledge gained through education. Skills gained from previous experiences. Which of your skills have you not used so far? Knowledge of foreign languages. Do you have a hobby? Artistic talents, writing, painting, music. Internet and computer proficiency, familiarity with internet-based tools. Do you drive, car, motorbike? What do you usually do in your spare time? What do you like to do the most? What are your friends and family members doing? Provided you have enough money and experience knowledge, what would you most like to do? Possibilities. Working time. Business space. Available finances. Possession of existing equipment. Skills managing finances. Other. Independent work or a team work. Indoors or outdoors. Traveling. Jobs that requires a lot of thinking. Administration, working with documents. Sorting, stacking, neatness. Manual work. Working with machines. Working with data. Driving by car. Working with animals. Working with people. Which categories of people? Men, women, children, youth, elderly people, etc. Troubleshooting. Organizing. Talk to the people. Helping people. Teaching. Guidance. Decision making. Influencing people. Taking risks. The analysis of questions and answers would provide the platform for decision making. In the next step, the advisor will establish a list of possible jobs and activities that fit into the answers provided. When the client narrows a selection of job startups, the advisor will help with suggestions, solutions and all the necessary information to start a business. A carefully prepared meeting place can help greatly in maintaining concentration, especially in the case of a less experienced advisor. It is very important to remove everything that could cause distractions, outside noise, radio, phones, other people, and unexpected visitors, the objects in front of the advisor and behind the client. It is desirable to use armchairs, so that both the client and the advisor can relax. If chairs without armrest are used, they should not stay too close to each other so that the clients would not have to cross-move their hands in order to avoid touching. By crossing hands or pulling them backwards, people are automatically withdrawing from communication. Time is very important as it is precious and irreplaceable. The power is in the hand of those who control it. Time should be well planned and others should not be allowed to waste it. If the advisor lets the client divert from the topic, it extends the scheduled meeting time by introducing subjects that are not beneficial, therefore the time is wasted for both parties. As a person who leads counseling, the advisor should be the one who evaluates the productivity of time. Adding some extra time in conversation is not beneficial to either the advisor or the client. The client will get tired or overwhelmed with too many information. The advisor should evaluate whether to extend an ongoing meeting or to schedule another one. To communicate does not mean to talk, but to converse. It is the ability to focus on the interlocutor, the ability to listen, respond and suggest. It is necessary to take care of the client's needs and to direct the conversation towards his wishes and needs. The client must feel that she or he is important. Only then they will become willing to listen. Excessive remarks or examples should be avoided, as well as the advisor's personal examples and problems. If there is suddenly silence or the advisor does not have the answer ready, the client should be given a general question which would allow him or her to move on to another topic. The client will open the topic that matters to him or her. A good advisor should keep the conversation alive, not too slow and boring or interrupted by long pauses. It should also not be going from one unfinished topic to another. On the other hand, a conversation should not be too intense, fast, disturbing or too loud. The advisor should know how to calm the client if he is upset or disappointed with the unexpected answers. A skillful communication can also result in the client, although not completely satisfied with the answers, leaving completely satisfied with the advisor's services. In communication, the advisor must keep in mind that both parties are equal interlocutors and that none of them should take over the conversation. Some clients might be excited and at the same time have fear of the unknown, some are uncomfortable with the idea of making decisions, and some are probably too decisive or worried that they cannot immediately get all the information. Some are not happy because they cannot get the quick answers or the solutions they are used to get in their countries. The advisor must not allow to being affected by the client's mood, as people tend to mirror each other. The advisor should remain calm, relaxed, confident and should keep on assessing how his body language will mirror the client's mood and when will he use certain behavior to redirect him into a positive direction. If the advisor intends to redirect the client towards a positive direction, he should inform the client beforehand that he understands the client's current condition. As soon as the advisor is relaxed, the client will relax too. The advisor needs to mirror his message to the client. Mirroring should never show what the advisor assumes that the client feels. The client's body language. The client's behavior should not distract but help the advisor's concentration. With his body language and facial expression, the client emphasizes his information. A body language is a powerful tool that helps the advisor to realize what is very important to his client, what he is emotionally attached to, what the areas of his confidence and doubts are, what he is afraid of, which are the issues he is insecure, worried or excited about. All these are signals that indicate a client's real needs, wishes and plans, as well as his personal attitude or expectations. Body language partially reveals the character and personality of the client. The advisor's body language during listening. With his manners and certain movements, the advisor should draw the attention of the client and at the same time show his concern, professionalism, courtesy and full attention. The advisor should be relaxed, leaning backwards. He should not fold hands because it sends a message that he is not open to information or that he disagrees with the client. His notes should be kept away from the client so that it would not distract him. On the other hand, by writing notes the advisor shows that he is listening carefully, recording all the information and that they have the same importance to the advisor as to the client himself. Every once in a while, the advisor should lightly nod to reassure the client that he actively follows the conversation and understands everything. At the same time, he should use the confirmation words yes, understand. He can also use words or questions that would encourage the client to expand or clarify information. Tell me more about it. For example, what do you mean by that? Why do you plan that? If the client leans towards the advisor should lean towards the client. If the client becomes impatient, the advisor should lean back, relax and smile. The advisor should not frown if he did not understand something or agree with it. He should ask an additional question or write it down and then later on ask for an explanation or express his opinion about the matter. The hands should always be kept slightly opened. It symbolizes an open space that should invite the client to relax, show trust and bring his ideas, thoughts and feelings forward. The advisor should be aware of moments when it is appropriate to smile. It is also not advisable to rest head on hands, to scratch, roll a pen in hand, play with some object, or watch what is happening around while listening. The attention of the advisor should be entirely focused on the client and notes. Every once in a while, the advisor should check whether he sits upright and relaxed. The advisor's body language during giving advice. While he is talking and giving information to the client, the advisor often uses his hands. When he wants to show to the client where to sit, where to look or what to pay attention to, the palm of his hand should always be facing up. The palm facing down signalizes authority and superiority, while finger pointing signalizes aggression. Both gestures are considered rude. The hands should indicate calmness, relaxation, readiness to listen and communicate. If the advisor has to show data on the board or paper, a pen should be used instead of a finger or a whole palm. By raising a pen, and never with fingers, the client's attention can be redirected to the other area. Hands. Handshake is a very important gesture. One should always use one hand only. The handshake needs to be adjusted to the client's style and strength. Documents, folders and briefcases are always kept in the left hand so that the right hand can be free for a handshake, for showing the direction to the client, for moving the chair, for greeting etc. The hand, fingers, on the cheek will convey a positive acceptance. All other gestures in which hand touches the head are not a positive sign. Dress code. Dress code, smile and gestures make a stronger impression on the client than what the advisor is saying at that moment. Dressing should be appropriate, neither too relaxed nor too formal. Fashion is changing along the time, but different countries have different customs. The eye is always the first to see and judge. The advisor's main goal is to approach the client at the same level. Therefore, dressing should be moderate, in order not to distract the client or to put him off. The client should not feel inferior because of the advisor's excessively expensive or inadequate looks. One could get the impression that the advisor is hiding his incompetence behind the picture of a successful person. The client should also not get the impression that the advisor does not care at all about how the client will perceive him and that he does not care about his appearance. Ignoring an appropriate dressing code tells the client that he is not important. The client might get the impression that the advisor has an extremely high opinion of himself and therefore is not bothered with his appearance, thinking he is superior with his information and knowledge. After the advisor heard the client, collected and recorded all the information, clarified and received the client's confirmation that everything is properly understood, he can start offering information and answers. The advisor advises the client by providing detailed information in accordance with the topics the client was talking about, suggesting directions and guidelines about taking next steps, delivering the facts and necessary information which would enable the client to make a decision. It is important that the advisor has carefully listened and clarified all possible doubts. He does not have to always have a ready answer. Sometimes he will have to seek a solution from an expert. The client will be satisfied if he gets some answers immediately, as well as the dates when he will get answers on other questions, accurate instructions about receiving further expert assistance and more information. Making decision. The advisor must not make decision for the client. Instead, he helps the client to make his own decisions. However, if the client persists in the attempt to make the advisor his decision maker, the advisor's duty is to help the client make his own decision by asking him additional questions, providing some additional information and indicators. If the advisor skillfully explores the client's motive, it will be an excellent guideline for the answers and the solutions he would offer. The basic rule: the advisor provides information and solutions, the client decides. If the client is still hesitant, it means he is either scared to make decisions or is unsure due to lack of information. In that case, if the client is not exhausted, under any kind of emotional pressure or overloaded with excessive information, the advisor will repeat the information and point out to possible solutions and answers. Otherwise, he would suggest a new meeting. Regardless of the amount of pressure the client puts in his effort to persuade the advisor to make a decision for him, the advisor should always strictly follow the basic rule. The advisor provides information and solutions, the client decides. The advisor does not have to be an expert in all areas. He is not a magician and does not have to know all the legal regulations and their current amendments, but is obliged to check on all changes or to consult with the expert before giving the information to the client. However, if the advisor is an expert in a particular area, then he has to regularly get information and continue to learn, and to be ready to independently and correctly advise the client. A responsible advisor will always contact a specialist for the areas he is not qualified for or does not have sufficient experience. The advisor for foreign direct investments is the person whom the investor has to trust and can contact not only in the initial phase when deciding on the investment, but the person whose counseling services he can use occasionally or permanently for the duration of his reside or work in the host country. The advisor for direct foreign investments should be a link between the investor and other key professionals, while at the same he should be able to provide as much basic information as possible on his own. The role of the advisor for direct foreign investments is demanding, complex and responsible as it encompasses a large area of activities for which he needs a wide knowledge range, active daily awareness, monitoring of administrative changes, monitoring of legal regulations, following market trends, active cooperation with other experts from the field of counseling, fluency in foreign languages. Communication with individual with limited communication ability, individuals in stress, under crisis, with emotional difficulties, hearing or speech impairment, visually or other physically impaired persons, should be adapted to the interlocutor. Loudness, vocabulary, questions, body language and environment need to be adapted depending on the interlocutor's limitations, possibility of moving, approach, lighting, noise. The complex role of the advisor for direct foreign investments includes an excellent knowledge and awareness in all areas of the foreign investor's interest, which would help him to make the final decision. If a foreign investor has the opportunity to get information about type, procedures and costs of opening a company, legislation requirements and the costs regarding running the business, accounting, real estate investments, labor market offers and conditions and employment conditions, procedures and condition for obtaining work and living permit and family reunification in host country, the possibilities of using loan and EU funds, positive sides, advantages and offers of host countries. From one person only and all in one place, he will make a decision on investing in the host country faster, safer and with more positive results. The main objective for the advisor for foreign direct investments is a long-term satisfactory interest of both foreign investors and the host country.